Hello, this video is brought to you by my supporters on Patreon and my members on YouTube. Minasan, arigatou gozaimasu. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily good life meditation. It's an exercise that I do every morning, a little bit after waking up. It's now 4:59 a.m. on December 31st, 2023, the last day of the year. Boy, big day. Transition tomorrow to the dragon year. More about that coming up. I use this time to also go over the last 24 hours to see how I did with the challenges and opportunities that I met. I prepare for the coming day, and I ready myself to die. But before I do any of those things, I like to read a poem. So turning back to John Keats, today we're going to read a new poem called The Poet. Let's read it. It's not very long. The Poet. At morn, at noon, at eve, and middle night, he passes forth into the charmed air, with talisman to call up spirits rare, from plant, cave, rock, and fountain. To his sight, the husk of natural objects opens quite to the core, and every secret essence there reveals the elements of good and fair, making him see where learning hath no light. Sometimes above the gross and palpable things of this diurnal sphere, his spirit flies on awful wings, and with its destined skies holds premature and mystic communings, till each unearthly intercourse sheds a visible halo round his mortal head. All right, nothing, no new vocabulary there needed to mark up. I said one word wrong. Till such, I said till each. Timely poem for me. The poet being able, being able to see things that we can't see. Us less poetic, without a poetic sense, are maybe unable to see. Maybe like when I'm out in the desert and I claim to apprehend the great indifference, where really there's nothing there. In fact, interesting as well, because just yesterday I watched a video that someone on Discord recommended. Egon, in fact, hi Egon, if you see this, recommended, and it was putting a philosopher together with a Buddhist monk to talk about the nature of the universe. And the monk kept saying, you rely so much on your senses, yet there's more to see, so to speak. I think that's what this poem is about too. All right. As for last night and yesterday, super productive day yesterday. Getting a list out. This is my list of my to-do list. This is today's to list as it's full, I'm making it now. Yesterday's list, there it is. Every single thing done except this last one on the bottom. That's because I added it late in the evening before I had a chance to do it. But I had a very productive day yesterday for a Saturday. This last one is this bonus poetry. I was editing some videos on the Stoic Poetry channel on YouTube, and I realized that, hey, there's writing in here that I may not have ever added to any of my books, and including poems. So I'm going to go through and make sure that's the case. Although in hindsight, I think they may have added most of that, the bulk of it, to the as yet unpublished book, The Good Life. Could be in there, because it related more to that topic. So good and productive day in terms of knocking off things off the checklist. I pretty much hit everything. I had a dangerous moment getting into the ocean. The ocean was very huge and powerful this weekend, and it was my 99th day of the year into the sea, and I went a little deeper than I should have, probably, in those big waves. And the ocean for a moment there said, "You're coming with me." I managed to get out though. And didn't panic, managed to get out, but as I toweled off in the shore, a lifeguard came over on his truck and asked me to be very cautious. He hadn't seen me in the water. He was concerned I was going to get in, and he was just saying, be very careful out there, and he was right. Otherwise, a great day. really interesting things are happening now with regard to my since not just I gave up on the idea of free will months ago, if not a year more and more ago. But actually believing it is a new thing. Like it's about 3 weeks now. And yesterday, just I'm I marched through my day. Just the word is aloof and disconnected, not disengaged. I was doing all my duty, but I was like, it's like a kid on if they're in a little, okay, in the back of the car. Back in the old days, there was a thing you could put in the back of the car with the kids to fake steering wheel. And the kid feels like they're driving, and there'd be dad or mom would be up there driving, usually dad in my day, and the kid would be back there in their car seat or whatever with their fake steering wheel. That's how much of what I do has before I gave up the idea of free will, before I began to believe it, that free will is an illusion. And now I have my hands off the wheel. It doesn't mean I'm disconnected. It's a strange thing. The car still drives itself. I still do all the things I do. I still address the things that are important to me. I still attend to what I need to. I still engage. I still do my work. In fact, I do my work even better now. But my hands are off the wheel. My hands are folded in my lap. And that's what it was like all day yesterday, out and about with my wife, doing our shopping and having lunch together. I was disconnected. Doesn't mean and I do speak less. I find that that's the case as well. I've become more stoic in my verbiage, my utterances. I speak more when I'm spoken to, less filling of the time, less active pretending. And it's a good feeling. It's a strange thing for sure, but I like it. So there was that. Nothing really challenged me yesterday except for that ocean. It was a good day. And today's the day off too, Sunday. And I have a lot of things I'm going to do. I'll get to those in a second. And then tomorrow's the day off too. New Year's Day. Oh, add it to this. Toshikoshi soba. All right, the good life. Let's go over the 7 objectives and 35 principles. The 7 objectives are as follows: to be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions, to recognize true limits and true opportunities, and to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly and carefully and deliberately. And number 8, to maintain my balance at all times. These objectives can be found in my book, Going Alone, in the chapter titled The Good Life. Now, for the 35 principles, and I'm going to dwell today on principle number 4, which is the Anchorhold. So here we go. I'll describe that principle, and then I'll come back and go through the whole 35. The Anchorhold is a strange word that I borrowed from medieval Western religious tradition, in which people who were very devoted to Christianity would have them. So these people were called anchorites or anchoritesses. I think I think that's how you call the female ones, anchoritesses, and men were anchorites. And these were people who decided to devote their life to prayer, but they were lay people. They weren't members of the clergy. And they did a very particular thing. They would have themselves walled off into a little room or hole, cubby, connected to the main body of the church. And then there would be a small hole between the church and their little hole, cubby there, the place that they lived. A little cell is the right word. Their Anchorhold is the even better word, through which they could peek. That was called a squint. And they could look through the squint and watch the service. Food and water would be passed through, and waste would be passed out. So usually the opportunity to be an anchorite was, and I'll just call them anchorites, general, male and female now. Maybe that's the right way to describe it altogether. This was usually reserved for the wealthy, because you typically needed to hire somebody, a servant of some sort, to come and attend to your needs. And you would then spend your life walled into the side of the church, looking through your squint, spending your day praying in your little cell, in your little Anchorhold. It reminds me of anglerfish. You know, those big fish down deep in the sea. Well, they're big in terms of their bodies, seem to be like about that big. The females are these big bulky things. They've got the little light dangling off the front that they usually capture the fish. The females are big. The males are these tiny little things that catch onto the side of the anglerfish, the female anglerfish, and then they kind of fuse into the fish. The male becomes like an appendage sticking out the side, and they spend his life attached to the big female. That's how these anchorites are in their little anchor holds, living their life in devotion. What does that have to do with the Good Life Creed? Well, that term, anchor hold, fit perfect for my imagining of my consciousness, which seems to be, senses and feels like it's trapped right here between my cranium, right behind my forehead, between right about here. You can feel it too, right? It's right up there. Your consciousness doesn't feel like it's in your left shoulder. It feels like it's up here. I think that's part and parcel to the fact that all of our senses are there. That is my conceptualization of my consciousness, which would be the anchorite, or another term that I used, that I talked about yesterday, is the homunculus, the little man within. Although maybe anchorite would have been a better choice, but it's too late now. The homunculus, the little man within, although that is the perfect word, trapped within the anchor hold of my skull. And my idea is that when this body of mine finally passes, the anchor, the homunculus trapped within the anchor hold, peeking through the squint of my eyes, listening through my ears, touching the world through my senses, is going to pass with me. No carrying on after life is over. There's nothing, I don't believe there's anything within me. There's no reason to believe, no empirical reason to believe, no good reason to believe that there's such a thing as a soul, and that anything of me will, that other than the information, some of the information that is contained within me, will remain until that all degrades away as well. If I'm burned up in a cremation, and that all gets turned into energy and heat and ash. If I degrade away into the earth in a grave, then it gets recycled back into the system. But in any case, the anchor hold is the anchorite, the homunculus, trapped within the anchor hold, is finished. So I use that concept of the anchor hold to remind myself that I'm trapped, that I'm not getting out of this alive, and that if I'm going to live a good life, and I'm going to live a good life well, I'd better begin doing that good life now, beginning right now at 5:13 a.m. on December 31st, 2023. Thus is the anchor hold. Okay. All right, let's carry on. The 35 principles. Oh, you should like to count them out. Let's see if I can miss any. Here we go. And the anchor hold is in there, number 4. War, reason, homunculus, anchor hold, home of good and evil, purpose, atomic principle, nature, pirate ride, maturity, social principle, family, public speaking, the temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be born, the feast of offal, distraction, agency, and the great indifference. Did I miss the best seat in the house? The restless man, I might have missed one. The path of wildness, the great life adventure, the risk of avoiding risk, sin and damnation, complete oblivion, the season of philosophy, script writing, the bullseye aim, the uphill climb, arena and utility, nothing is enough, the principle of fun, I did miss one, and being prepared, that's 34. The one I missed, I'll just give it in hindsight, was the best seat in the house. There we go, 35. All right, so that's the Good Life Creed. I talked about today, or the last 24 hours. Let's talk about today. What am I going to do today? Well, this is the list of all the things I'm going to do. I'm going to read a poem, which I just did. I'll do my Good Life meditation. I'm finishing that now. I did my YouTube comments already. I answered all my comments on Meta. I answered all my email already. Next, I'll read the Bible. I'll be reading from the Gospel of Luke. Then I'll do update my journal. Then I'll do 10 Stoic poetry video asset updates using AI, new titles, descriptions, and tags. Then I'll illustrate one page from Juliana's book here. That's her copy of Going Alone. Then I'll do some reading. Continuing to read A Billion Wicked Thoughts. Then I'll go for an ocean swim. Then I'll do a bonus Stoic poetry material. Look at that. I'll also go to the beach and do my book reading while I'm there. Reading of Going Alone. What am I going to read today? Last weekend I read Stoic poetry, I think. Is it The Good Life again today? Perhaps. And then I'll do the poem upload, the Toshikoshi Soba with my wife to celebrate New Year's, and then the video pull out, extract out the Anchorhold content from here. I have a big day ahead of me, ambitious day ahead of me. Okay, last thing. Am I ready to die? Are my 3 questions. Are my affairs in order? Are my relationships sound? And is my life's work complete? The answer to all 3 of those questions is yes. An emphatic yes. I am definitely ready to die today if I do need to, if it so is the case, and I will do so to the best of my ability without a single backwards glance. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.